3 months after arriving on Earth, Lyra sat in Olivia's backyard garden, her long violet fingers carefully transplanting seedlings into the rich soil. She had learned that nurturing growing things brought her a peace she had never known on Zaxi. Olivia emerged from the house carrying 2 steaming mugs of tea, a blend specially formulated to be compatible with Zaxian biology. She handed one to Lyra and settled beside her on the garden bench. "The seedlings look healthy," Olivia commented. "They should bloom beautifully in spring." Lyra nodded, feeling a surge of pride at the simple accomplishment on Zaxia. Such manual labor would have been beneath her royal status. Yet here she found satisfaction in creating, rather than merely existing. "I've been thinking," Olivia said after a moment, her tone casual. But Lyra had learned to recognize the subtle tension in her shoulders that indicated something important. "I work with a team researching xenobiology, specifically reproductive systems across species." Lyra stiffened, her 4 eyes blinking rapidly in discomfort. The subject of her infertility still brought shame. Despite Kate's assurances that humans viewed it differently, Olivia noticed her reaction and spoke gently. "I'm not asking to examine you or study you as a subject, Lyra. I just wondered if you'd ever gotten a comprehensive explanation about your condition from Zaxian doctors." Lyra set down her mug, the warmth of the ceramic no longer comforting. "They said I was flawed, that all 4 of my wombs were non-functional, that the royal bloodline ends with me." Her voice became smaller, that I was useless. Olivia frowned, anger flashing across her features. "I find it hard to believe that a species as scientifically advanced as Zaxians would simply accept infertility without investigating the cause, especially in someone of royal lineage." "I am not the first," Lyra replied. "There have been others throughout our history. Females unable to conceive. It is rare but not unknown. It is simply accepted as genetic weakness on Earth." Olivia said, "We have many different causes for infertility, some treatable, some not. But we investigate, we don't simply label someone as flawed." Lyra had never considered this possibility. Zaxian society focused on function. Those who could not fulfill their designated purpose were set aside, not worthy of further resources. "Would you allow me to review your medical records?" Olivia asked. "If you have them. Ambassador Kate mentioned you brought data storage devices from Zaxia." Lyra hesitated, then nodded. The records would confirm her shame, but perhaps understanding would help Olivia see why she had been discarded. That evening, Lyra retrieved a small crystalline device from her few possessions from Zaxia. Olivia connected it to her computer using an adapter designed for alien technology. The Zaxian text scrolled across the screen, translated by Earth's Advanced Linguistics Program. Olivia read silently, her expression growing increasingly puzzled. "This is primarily a statement of your condition, not an investigation into causes," she finally said, frowning. "Did they run any cellular compatibility tests? Genetic sequencing, hormone analysis?" Lyra shook her head. "They examined my 4 wombs, confirmed they had never produced fertile eggs, and declared me barren. The royal physicians said further investigation would waste resources on a lost cause." Olivia looked outraged. That's not science." She sputtered. "That's medieval thinking." The next morning, Olivia made a call to her research facility, speaking in low tones that Lyra could still hear with her sensitive ears. "She's been told she's infertile without any real investigation," Olivia was saying. "It's barbaric, Sharon. Yes, I know the diplomatic implications, but this isn't about politics. It's about a person who deserves answers." 2 days later, Lyra found herself in Olivia's research laboratory, a pristine facility with equipment she had never seen. Even in the advanced medical centers of Zaxia, the staff treated her with respect, explaining each procedure, asking permission before every test. The process took weeks: blood samples, tissue analysis, genetic mapping, hormone level monitoring. Lyra underwent it all, not daring to hope, yet finding comfort in the methodical approach the human scientist took to understanding her body. Olivia worked tirelessly, consulting with colleagues, reviewing data, comparing Zaxian biological texts with their findings. She explained everything to Lyra, not as a patient, but as a partner. In discovery one evening, Olivia came home later than usual, her eyes bright with excitement. Despite her obvious exhaustion, She found Lyra in the garden where she often went to think beneath the stars. "Lyra, I found something," she said, dropping to the bench beside her. "I need to run more tests to confirm, but I think I know why your wombs aren't functioning with Zaxian males." Lyra felt her hearts racing. "What do you mean?" "Look." Olivia handed her a tablet displaying complex cellular images. "These are your reproductive cells, and these," she swiped to another image, "are typical Zaxian male gametes. Notice anything?" Lyra studied the images, then shook her head, uncertain what she was meant to see. "See this receptor." Olivia pointed to a structure on the cell membrane. "Your eggs have a different configuration than typical Zaxian females. They require a specific enzyme to activate the reproductive cycle, an enzyme not found in Zaxian males." "What does that mean?" Lyra asked, her voice barely a whisper. "It means," Olivia said carefully, "you're not infertile. You're just incompatible with Zaxian males. Your reproductive system evolved differently. Possibly a mutation or adaptation that's actually quite fascinating from an evolutionary perspective." "Incompatible." Lyra repeated the word, "not flawed, not broken, just different. But here's the truly interesting part." Olivia continued, her words coming faster with excitement. "I compared your cells with samples from various Earth species, including humans, and found something remarkable. The enzyme your eggs require for activation is present in human reproductive material." Lyra stared at Olivia, trying to comprehend what she was saying. "In theory." Olivia said, her voice gentling, "You could conceive offspring with a human partner. Your biology is compatible with ours, which suggests there may have been contact between our species in the distant past, enough to create an evolutionary pathway." That night Lyra lay awake, her mind racing with implications. She was not flawed as she had been told her entire life. Her difference might actually be evidence of ancient connection between humans and Zaxians, a connection lost to history but preserved in her very cells. The knowledge transformed her. She walked taller, spoke more confidently, began asking questions rather than simply accepting what she was told. Olivia noticed the change with approval, encouraging Lyra to join her in analyzing the research data. They worked together in the lab, Lyra providing insights about Zaxian biology that helped refine their understanding, Olivia teaching Lyra human scientific methods that were more investigative than the rigid approach of Zaxian science. As weeks passed, their relationship shifted subtly from host and guest to colleagues to friends. They shared meals, discussed ideas, laughed over cultural misunderstandings, stayed up late, talking about everything and nothing. Lyra began to notice things about Olivia she had not observed before: the graceful way she moved around the laboratory, the gentle strength in her hands, the warmth in her brown eyes when she looked at Lyra, the musical quality of her laughter. One evening, as they walked in the garden beneath a sky painted in sunset colors, Olivia stopped suddenly, turning to face Lyra. "I've been meaning to ask," she said, her voice uncharacteristically hesitant. "Would you like to stay here permanently? Not as a diplomatic assignment, but because you choose to. Earth could be your home. Your real home." Lyra felt something unfurl in her chest, like the seedling she had planted reaching toward light. "I would like that very much," she said. Olivia smiled, brilliant and beautiful. "You have choices now, Lyra. You can build any life you want here." "Any life," Lyra repeated, considering possibilities she had never imagined, including the one revealed by their research, the potential compatibility between them. Later that night, as they sat side by side on the couch, watching the stars through the living room window, Lyra gathered her courage and asked the question that had been growing in her mind. "Olivia, is it possible that you and I could?" She hesitated, uncertain of human customs regarding such matters. Olivia turned to her, expression soft with understanding. "Are you asking if we could be compatible as mates?" Lyra nodded, her violet skin darkening with emotional flush. "Biologically, yes." Olivia said, "Our research confirms it." "But Lyra, this isn't just about biology, it's about feelings, choice, consent. What we both want." "I have feelings for you," Lyra said, the words strange yet right. "I never expected to find someone who would see me as whole, as valuable, as more than my reproductive capacity." Olivia reached out slowly, giving Lyra time to withdraw, and when she didn't gently took her six-fingered hand in her five-fingered one. I have feelings for you too, she said. But let's take time to be certain. This isn't rushed because of the discovery or gratitude or the situation, Lyra agreed, understanding the wisdom in Olivia's caution, yet feeling hope bloom within her like the garden they tended together. Not the desperate hope of someone seeking validation, but the steady hope of someone discovering unexpected joy. The human transport vessel hummed softly as it carried Princess Lyra away from the only world she had ever known. Her four violet eyes stared out the viewport, watching as Zaxia grew smaller, until it was just another glittering speck among the stars. Lyra pressed one six-fingered hand against the cold glass, her tall, slender frame rigid with anxiety. The humans had accepted her as a diplomatic gift, but she had no idea what awaited her on their strange blue planet. Ambassador Kate Foster sat across from her, studying data on a tablet, occasionally glancing up to check on the alien princess. "Are you comfortable?" Kate asked, her voice gentle. "We have another 12 hours before reaching Earth." Lyra nodded, not trusting herself to speak. The universal translator pinned to her flowing silver robes would convert her words, but she feared saying the wrong thing. These humans were now her people, whether she wished it or not. "I know this is difficult," Kate continued, setting aside her tablet. "You were given to us without your consent as a joke, because of your supposed flaw." Lyra flinched at the reminder of her shameful condition among her people. An infertile female had no value, especially not a royal one who was expected to produce many offspring to strengthen political alliances on Earth. Kate said firmly, "We do not consider infertility a flaw. It is simply a biological variation. You will not be treated as lesser because of it." Lyra turned all four eyes toward the human ambassador, searching for deception but finding none. "Why then did you accept me?" Kate smiled. "It offers us an opportunity to learn more about Zaxian culture and physiology, with your consent, of course, and it gives you a fresh start away from those who failed to value you." Lyra considered this. The concept was foreign on Zaxia. Value came from function, and her function had been to bear royal offspring. When she could not fulfill this duty, she became worthless. "We have arranged for you to stay with Olivia Carter," Kate explained. "She is a xenobiologist specializing in comparative physiology. She volunteered to host you and help with your transition to Earth. Is she important among your people?" Lyra asked, assuming that as a royal gift she would be placed with someone of high status. Kate chuckled. "Olivia is brilliant and respected in her field, but she lives quite simply. She thought you might prefer a quiet environment to adjust, rather than being placed in a political household." The transport vessel entered Earth atmosphere the next morning, descending through clouds into a world of overwhelming blue and green colors so vibrant they made Lyra's sensitive eyes water. She had been provided with protective lenses, but the sheer variety of hues on this planet was shocking. They landed at a small private facility rather than the main spaceport. Kate explained this was to give Lyra privacy and prevent media attention that might overwhelm her. A human female waited for them at the landing pad. She was shorter than Kate, with warm brown skin and curly black hair cut close to her head. She wore simple clothing, no ornate robes or symbols of rank. Lyra. "This is Dr. Olivia Carter," Kate said. "Olivia. This is Princess Lyra of Zaxia. Please just call me Olivia," the woman said with a warm smile, extending her hand, then hesitating. Remembering that Zaxians had different greeting customs, Lyra recognized the aborted gesture from her cultural studies and carefully extended her own six-fingered hand, mimicking what she had learned about human greetings. Olivia gently clasped it, her touch warm and firm. "Welcome to Earth," Olivia said. "I hope you'll find peace here." Lyra's first day on Earth was overwhelming. The drive to Olivia's home took them through landscapes unlike anything on Zaxia, trees with green leaves instead of purple grass covering the ground, and a carpet of verdant color buildings that varied in size and design rather than the uniform crystalline structures of her homeworld. Olivia's house was small by royal standards, but surrounded by growing things, a garden Olivia called it, filled with plants that produced food and flowers. "This is all yours?" Lyra asked. Gesturing at the colorful array of vegetation, Olivia smiled. "Yes, I grow Much of my own food and the flowers just because they're beautiful. Would you like to learn? No one had ever asked what Lyra would like to learn on Zaxia. Her education had been decided by her royal status and expected duties. Yes, she said, surprised by her own response. The house interior was warm and filled with objects that seemed to have no clear purpose. Colorful fabrics draped over furniture, pieces of art on walls, shelves crowded with physical books, a Zaxian luxury reserved only for the highest scholars. This room will be yours. Olivia showed her to a space with a large window overlooking the garden. The bed was covered in soft blankets and the walls were a pale blue. I wasn't sure what you'd like, so I kept it simple, but we can change. Anything that doesn't suit you, change it. Lyra repeated, unfamiliar with the concept that her living space might be adapted to her preferences. Olivia nodded. Of course, this is your home now, at least for as long as you wish to stay. Home, the word felt strange in Lyra's mind. The royal palace had been her residence, but never truly home. She had lived in designated quarters appropriate to her status, attended by servants who whispered about her shame when they thought she couldn't hear. That night, Lyra stood by her window looking out at Earth's single moon, so unlike the 3 moons of Zaxia. The alien sky should have increased her sense of displacement, yet somehow she felt a strange lightness, as if a heavy weight had begun to lift from her shoulders. The following days brought new experiences and challenges. Earth gravity was slightly stronger than Zaxia, making Lyra tire easily. The food, though specially prepared to be compatible with her biology, tasted strange. The constant brightness of Earth days hurt her eyes accustomed to Zaxia's perpetual twilight. Yet Olivia was endlessly patient, explaining, teaching, adjusting, making changes to help Lyra adapt. She installed dimmer switches for the lights, found recipes that blended Earth and Zaxian flavors, created a schedule that allowed Lyra rest periods. Most surprising to Lyra was how Olivia asked questions not as a scientist studying a specimen, but as a person genuinely interested in another. She wanted to know about Zaxian culture, but also about Lyra herself, her preferences, her thoughts, her feelings. What did you enjoy doing on Zaxia? Olivia asked one evening as they sat in the garden watching the sunset. Lyra considered the question. No one had ever asked her that before. Studied ancient texts. She finally said it was permitted because knowledge of history was considered valuable even for a flawed princess. I found peace in the library, away from the whispers and stares. Olivia nodded. We have several excellent libraries nearby. Would you like to visit one? The local library became Lyra's sanctuary, a place where humans barely glanced at her alien features. Too absorbed in their own pursuits of knowledge, she discovered Earth literature, history, science, finding similarities and differences between human and Zaxian development. Weeks passed and Lyra began to establish routines. She helped Olivia in the garden, learning the names and needs of Earth plants. She practiced cooking simple meals, combining techniques from both worlds. She watched human entertainment on the viewing screen, fascinated by their stories. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, she began to think of Olivia's house as home. The seasons changed on Earth, bringing what Olivia called autumn. The garden transformed into rich golds and reds, colors that fascinated Lyra, whose world knew only shades of purple and blue. She spent hours watching leaves fall, marveling at the cycle of growth and rest. So different from the constant twilight of Zaxia, her relationship with Olivia deepened through the cooling days. They moved carefully, respecting each other's boundaries, learning each other's ways. Olivia showed infinite patience with Lyra's questions about human customs and courtship, while Lyra shared Zaxian traditions that celebrated partnership beyond reproduction. They walked together in the forest near their home, holding hands despite the differences in their anatomy. Lyra with 6 long violet fingers, Olivia with 5 shorter brown ones. They fit together imperfectly yet perfectly, a physical manifestation of their growing bond. One evening as they sat before the fireplace, its warmth necessary now as Earth's temperatures dropped, Olivia turned to Lyra, her expression serious. The research team wants to publish our findings about the compatibility between humans and Zaxians, she said. But I wanted to discuss it with you first. It's your biology, your story. Lyra considered. This on Zaxia, she would have had no choice in such matters. Her body belonged to the royal lineage, But here on Earth, Olivia offered her agency. What would publishing mean, she asked. It would mean sharing the discovery with the scientific community. Olivia explained, and eventually, with both human and Zaxian governments, it could have significant implications for diplomacy and interspecies relations. Would it include details about me specifically? Lyra asked only, with your explicit permission. Olivia assured her we can anonymize everything. Keep your identity private. Lyra shook her head no. I don't want to hide this discovery as part of who I am. I was sent to Earth as a joke because of my supposed flaw. But that flaw may be evidence of ancient connection between our species. I want my name on the research. Olivia smiled, taking Lyra's hand, her brown eyes warm with admiration. You've changed since you arrived? Lyra nodded. I was taught to be ashamed of who I am, to see myself as broken. But here I've learned that difference isn't deficiency. Olivia leaned forward, pressing her forehead gently against Lyra's, a gesture they had developed that honored both human and Zaxian customs of intimacy. Love you, Olivia whispered the words, simple, yet profound. I love you also. Lyra responded, feeling the truth of it in all four chambers of her hearts. Their first kiss followed gentle, experimental, a meeting of alien physiologies guided by shared emotion. Lyra's skin tingled with bioelectric response, a Zaxian reaction to compatible mates that she had never expected to experience. That night they became partners in all ways, their bodies finding harmony, despite differences proving what their research had suggested, compatibility that transcended. Species days later, they submitted the research paper together, their names listed as primary researchers alongside Olivia's colleagues, the abstract clearly stating that the discovery had been made possible by Princess Lyra, formerly of the Zaxian royal house, now resident of Earth. The publication created immediate ripples in scientific communities. Human researchers fascinated by the implications, Zaxian scientists responding with skepticism, then grudging interest. Ambassador Kate visited them, bringing news of diplomatic reactions. The Zaxian Grand Council is requesting verification, she reported as they sat in Olivia's living room. They find it difficult to believe that a princess they declared infertile could potentially reproduce with an alien species. Will they demand my return? Lyra asked, anxiety flaring. She had built a life here with Olivia, a home she did not want to leave. Kate shook her head firmly. Absolutely not. You were given to Earth as a diplomatic gift. Your status as Zaxian royalty was formally relinquished. They have no claim on your relief, washed through Lyra, followed by determination. If the council wanted verification, she would provide it on her terms. The verification came sooner than any of them expected. 3 weeks after their conversation with Kate, Lyra awoke feeling strange. Her body temperature elevated, her skin flushed with bioluminescent patterns. Olivia recognized the symptoms immediately from their research. We should run tests, she said, trying to remain clinical, despite the hope blossoming in her eyes. The laboratory confirmed what they both suspected: Lyra was pregnant. Not in one womb, as would be typical for humans, but in all four. Her unique biology had responded to Olivia's genetic material. Exactly as their research had predicted, the news overwhelmed them both. Lyra cycling through disbelief, joy, terror, and wonder. Olivia alternating between scientific fascination and emotional awe. They had proven their theory, but more importantly, they had created new life between them. Is this what you want? Olivia asked, her hand resting gently on Lyra's still flat abdomen. We didn't plan this. Lyra covered Olivia's hand with her own. I want this, she said with certainty. I want our children. I want our family. The pregnancy progressed with remarkable ease. Lyra's body seemed designed for carrying hybrid offspring. The 4 wombs developing independently, yet synchronized through hormonal connections that fascinated Olivia's research team. Each womb contained a single embryo, each developing at slightly different rates but all healthy, all showing signs of both human and Zaxian characteristics in their forming bodies. Lyra's body changed, her slender frame expanding to accommodate the growing lives within her skin, developing a constant subtle glow that was part of Zaxian pregnancy, but enhanced by the human genetic influence. Her energy levels fluctuated wildly some days, finding her dancing through the house, others barely able to move. From bed, Olivia cared for her with devoted attention, researching Zaxian prenatal traditions, adapting human pregnancy care to suit Lyra's unique needs, creating a nursery. With elements from both worlds, she read to the developing babies every night, her voice soothing both Lyra and their unborn children. 5 months into the pregnancy, when Lyra's belly had grown prominent with 4 developing lives, Ambassador Kate arrived at their door, her expression grave. "The Zaxian High Council has learned of your pregnancy," she said without preamble. "They are sending a delegation to Earth." Fear clutched at Lyra's hearts. Olivia moved closer protectively. "What do they want?" "They claim the offspring of royal blood belong to Zaxia," Kate said, regardless of circumstances. Lyra placed her hands over her swollen abdomen. "They gave me away," she said, her voice hardening. "They called me flawed, worthless, a joke. They cannot claim my children." Now Kate nodded grimly. "I agree. And so does Earth Central Government. We've already initiated protective protocols. Your home is now under diplomatic security. The Zaxian delegation will not be permitted direct contact without your consent." The following weeks brought tension. Lyra felt the weight of her pregnancy, both physical and emotional. She continued regular medical checks, the babies developing well, despite the stress. Their hearts beating strong, their tiny bodies forming perfectly, neither fully human nor fully Zaxian, but something wonderfully new. Olivia never left her side, working from home. Coordinating with her research team remotely, she installed additional security systems around their property, planted protective screens of dense vegetation to shield them from observation. The Zaxian delegation arrived on Earth 7 months into Lyra's pregnancy. Ambassador Trell, who had originally presented Lyra as a diplomatic joke, now demanded a meeting with the princess through formal channels. Kate brought the request to Lyra and Olivia, explaining they were not obligated to agree. "I want to see her," Lyra said, surprising both Kate and Olivia. "I want her to see what her joke has created." The meeting was arranged at a neutral location, a secure conference room at Earth Central Government headquarters. Lyra arrived with Olivia and Kate, her pregnancy impossible to hide, her 4 eyes clear and proud. Ambassador Trell entered with 2 Zaxian physicians, her violet skin paling visibly at the sight of Lyra's gravid form. "You truly carry offspring," she said, disbelief evident in her voice. "4 offspring," Lyra corrected, placing her hands protectively over her rounded abdomen. 1 in each womb, all healthy, all thriving. The Zaxian physicians moved forward, instruments in hand, but Kate stepped between them and Lyra. "You may verify the pregnancy from a distance," she said firmly. "But Princess Lyra is under Earth protection, as are her unborn children. No examinations without her explicit consent." Ambassador Trell straightened, her tall form looming over the humans. But Lyra was not intimidated. "These offspring carry royal Zaxian bloodlines. They are property of the Grand Council by ancient law. They are my children." Lyra said, each word deliberate, "and mine alone. I was given to humanity as a diplomatic gift. My status as Zaxian royalty was formally relinquished. These children have no obligation to Zaxia." Ambassador Trell hissed, "The Grand Council demands. Earth recognizes no such demand." Kate interrupted, her voice firm. "These children will be Earth citizens from birth, their Zaxian heritage acknowledged, but their future, their choices will be their own." The meeting ended in stalemate, the Zaxian delegation retreating to their embassy to consult with the Grand Council. Lyra returned home exhausted, but triumphant. She had faced her past without flinching, had claimed her future without shame. That night, as Olivia held her, Lyra felt the babies move within her. All 4 active at once, as if responding to her emotions. "They wanted to take you away," Olivia whispered, her voice breaking. "Earth would go to war before we let that happen." The diplomatic crisis escalated in the weeks following the meeting. Zaxian warships appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system, not attacking, but present a silent threat that had the human military on high alert. Lyra watched news reports with growing anxiety. Her pregnancy now in its 8th month. Her body enormous with the 4 lives she carried. Olivia tried to shield her from the worst of the political tension, but Lyra insisted on knowing everything. "They want our children so badly they would risk war," she said one evening as they sat in their secured living room, watching another emergency session of the Earth Central Government. Olivia nodded grimly. The Zaxian royal line has always controlled reproduction tightly. She explained, especially among the nobility, your children represent something they never anticipated. Genetic diversity outside their control. Ambassador Kate visited daily, bringing updates on the diplomatic negotiations. The Zaxian Grand Council had sent formal demands, claiming that any offspring of royal blood belonged to the state. Regardless of circumstances, the Earth government had responded with equally formal rejections, citing Lyra's relinquished status and the children's right to Earth citizenship by birth. We're preparing for all contingencies, Kate told them, her expression serious. We have safe houses ready if needed. Secure medical facilities, specialized protection teams. Lyra placed her hands over her swollen abdomen, feeling the movements of the babies. Within human security measures seemed fragile against Zaxian determination and technology. That night, Lyra dreamed of Zaxia, of the crystalline palace where she had grown up feeling always inadequate, always lesser. She woke with a gasp. All four eyes, opening simultaneously in the darkness, Olivia stirred beside her. What is it? I know what they truly fear. Lyra said, sitting up with difficulty, her voice certain what this is really about. Olivia turned on the bedside lamp, its soft glow illuminating Lyra's flushed violet skin. What do you mean? The Zaxian reproductive system evolved for genetic diversity. Lyra explained that's why females have 4 wombs to carry offspring from different genetic sources. But the royal family has always controlled that diversity, limiting it to approved lineages. Understanding dawned in Olivia's eyes, and your children represent unlimited diversity. Lyra finished a genetic pathway they never imagined possible, one they cannot control. If Zaxian females can reproduce with humans, it would change everything. Olivia said, their entire social structure, their breeding programs, their genetic purity. The next morning, Lyra insisted on speaking with Kate when she arrived for her daily briefing. I need to address the Zaxian Grand Council directly, Lyra said. I understand what they're truly afraid of, and I can speak to it. Kate looked dubious. They haven't been receptive to negotiation. Not negotiation. Lyra said, truth. I was raised in the royal house. I know their fears. Their pride, their history. Let me speak to them. The arrangement took days of diplomatic maneuvering, the Zaxian Council reluctant to grant Lyra a formal audience. But finally a secure communication channel was established. A virtual meeting that would allow Lyra to speak from Earth directly to the council chamber on Zaxia. Lyra prepared carefully, choosing a traditional Zaxian formal robe, modified to accommodate her pregnancy. She asked Olivia to stand beside her, visible in the transmission, a deliberate statement about their partnership. The transmission began the massive crystal chamber of the Zaxian Grand Council, appearing on the screen before them. 7 elderly Zaxians seated on elevated thrones, their skin pale violet with age, their 4 eyes narrowed in disapproval. Princess Lyra. The eldest counselor spoke, her voice crackling with age and authority. You have been granted audience to speak on the matter of your offspring. Lyra inclined her head in the formal gesture of respect, keeping her back straight despite the weight of her pregnancy. Honored council, I come before you, not as a princess of Zaxia, for that title was relinquished when I was given to humanity, but as a bearer of truth. The counselors shifted uncomfortably, their multiple eyes blinking in the Zaxian expression of discomfort. I understand your fear. Lyra continued the discovery that Zaxian females, specifically those with my genetic variation, can reproduce with humans, threatens the careful genetic control you've maintained for 10,000 years. The eldest counselor hissed, we fear nothing, least of all a diplomatic joke gone wrong. Lyra smiled, knowing the expression would disturb them. Then you should have no objection to my offspring remaining on Earth. Under human protection with no claim from Zaxia, impossible. They are of royal blood. Another counselor interjected, their genetic material belongs to the state. For what purpose? Lyra asked pointedly. Not to continue my lineage, for you declared me worthless. Flawed beyond redemption, you gave me away as a joke, a diplomatic amusement. Silence fell in the council chamber. You fear what my children represent. Lyra pressed the knowledge that your understanding of our biology was incomplete, that possibilities exist beyond your control.
My offspring prove that Zaxians and humans share genetic compatibility, which suggests ancient contact between our species long before recorded history. The council members exchanged glances communicating in the subtle
eye movements that constituted private Zaxian discourse. If Zaxian females can reproduce with humans, Lyra continued, especially those females you have deemed infertile with Zaxian males, your entire system of genetic control crumbles. The eldest counselor leaned forward. These theories are unproven. My pregnancy is proof. Lyra said, placing her hands on her swollen abdomen. 4 healthy hybrid offspring, each genetically unique, each carrying both Zaxian and human DNA. My supposedly flawed wombs function perfectly with human genetic material. What do you want? The counselor asked bluntly. I want formal recognition that my children are under Earth protection. Lyra stated that they have no obligation to Zaxia, that any attempt to claim them or study them without consent will be considered an act of war. Unacceptable, another counselor barked. The genetic information alone will be shared. Lyra interrupted through proper scientific channels. Our research team has already prepared comprehensive studies on the hybridization process. These will be published, made available to Zaxian scientists, but my children will not be your laboratory specimens. The council conferred among themselves their private eye language, unreadable to humans, but partially comprehensible to Lyra. She sensed division, disagreement, uncertainty. Finally, the eldest counselor spoke. What do you offer in exchange? Understanding. Lyra said simply, I will personally oversee a collaborative research initiative between Earth and Zaxia scientists to explore the implications of our discovery, including identifying other Zaxian females with similar genetic variations. The council considered this proposal. Additionally, Lyra continued, when my children are grown, if they choose, of their own free will, to visit Zaxia to learn of their heritage, they will be permitted to do so, but the choice will be theirs alone. The negotiation continued for hours. Lyra standing firm despite her physical discomfort, Olivia beside her offering silent support. Kate occasionally whispering diplomatic suggestions. Eventually, agreement was reached. The Zaxian warships would withdraw. Earth would recognize Zaxia's interest in the scientific discovery while maintaining the children's Earth citizenship and autonomy. A joint research initiative would be established with Lyra as honorary director. As the transmission ended, the eldest counselor addressed Lyra directly. One final time. You have changed. Princess, I have evolved. Lyra corrected, just as our species must. The screen went dark, leaving Lyra exhausted but triumphant. She turned to Olivia, who embraced her gently, mindful of her enormous belly. You were magnificent. Olivia whispered. I spoke truth. Lyra said simply, the truth they have denied for generations. The change cannot be prevented, only guided. That diversity strengthens rather than weakens. That night, as news spread of the diplomatic resolution, Lyra felt a strange sensation, a tightening across her abdomen that came in waves. Olivia recognized it immediately. The babies, she said, her voice filled with wonder. They're coming. The specialized medical team arrived within minutes, transferring Lyra to the secure facility prepared for this moment, a hybrid of human hospital and Zaxian birthing chamber equipped with technology from both worlds. Labor progressed differently in each of Lyra's 4 wombs, one racing ahead, the others following at their own pace. Olivia remained by her side, monitoring both as scientist and partner, offering comfort through the pain that even advanced medication could only partially dull. The first baby emerged just after midnight, a daughter with violet-tinged skin and 10 fingers instead of 12. Her eyes, when they briefly opened, were brown like Olivia's but 4 in number like Lyra's. The second and third followed within hours. Both sons, one with predominantly human features but Zaxian bioluminescent patterns beneath his skin. The other, more Zaxian in appearance, but with human ears and 5-fingered hands. The fourth and final child arrived as dawn broke over the horizon. Another daughter, smaller than her siblings, but with strong lungs, her cry a musical sound, unlike anything human or Zaxian. A new voice in the universe. The medical team worked efficiently, ensuring each infant was breathing properly, adapting to an atmosphere that was neither fully Earth nor fully Zaxia. running gentle tests, confirming what the prenatal scans had shown: 4 healthy hybrid children, the first of their kind. The first months with 4 newborns transformed Lyra and Olivia's home into a realm of beautiful chaos. Each child different from the others, each requiring specialized care, their hybrid physiology presenting unique challenges and wonders. The oldest, daughter named Mira, showed predominantly Zaxian features. Her skin a soft violet, her 4 eyes intelligent and observant, but her hands had 5 fingers instead of 6, and her digestive system processed human foods with ease. The twin sons Terra and Nova demonstrated fascinating variations. Terra had mostly human appearance, but his skin displayed bioluminescent patterns when he experienced strong emotions. Nova looked more Zaxian, but lacked the species' characteristic sensitivity to light, his 2 sets of eyes capable of filtering Earth's bright sunlight without discomfort. The youngest daughter, Stella, was the most unique of all, smaller than her siblings. Her skin a marbled pattern of human and Zaxian tones. She hummed constantly, producing musical tones that seemed to express her feelings before she could speak. Olivia took extended leave from her research position, working from home analyzing data from the children's development while caring for them alongside Lyra. They established routines that accommodated both human and Zaxian parenting traditions. Ambassador Kate visited regularly, bringing diplomatic updates and becoming an honorary aunt to the children. Government security remained in place but grew less intrusive as the diplomatic situation stabilized. The Joint Research Initiative proceeded with scientists from both worlds, studying the genetic compatibility between humans and Zaxians, identifying other Zaxian females with similar variations, discovering evidence of ancient contact between the species thousands of years before recorded history. 6 months after the births, a formal request arrived from Zaxia. "The Empress wishes to meet your children," Ambassador Kate explained, presenting the ornate crystalline message tablet to Lyra and Olivia as they sat in their living room surrounded by infant toys. Lyra felt tension ripple through her body. The Empress, the highest authority on Zaxia, who had never acknowledged Lyra's existence, even when she lived in the royal palace on Zaxia. Olivia asked, concerned, on Earth. Kate clarified, a state visit, diplomatic neutral ground with all security measures in place. Lyra looked at Olivia, who nodded supportively. "It would be your decision entirely." Lyra considered the implications, the symbolism of the Empress herself traveling to Earth to see children who had once been dismissed as impossible. "We will meet her," she decided, "our whole family together." The meeting was arranged at Earth's most prestigious diplomatic venue, the Global Unity Hall, a magnificent structure of glass and living plants designed to accommodate visitors from across the known galaxy. Lyra and Olivia arrived with their 4 children, now 7 months old, dressed in outfits that blended human and Zaxian design elements. Ambassador Kate escorted them to a private chamber, where Earth security ensured their comfort and safety. The Empress arrived with minimal entourage, only 2 advisors, and a royal physician, her tall form draped in the crystalline robes of Zaxian royalty, her violet skin pale and translucent with extreme age, her 4 eyes clouded but still sharp. "Lyra, Princess of Zaxia." The Empress spoke, her voice surprisingly soft. "I no longer hold that title." Lyra replied gently, but respectfully, "I am simply Lyra of Earth, partner to Olivia, mother to our children." The Empress inclined her head, acknowledging the correction, then approached slowly, her gaze fixed on the 4 infants. "May I?" she asked, extending her 6-fingered hands. Lyra nodded, watching carefully as the Empress first approached Mira, who stared back with 4 curious eyes. Unafraid, the Empress touched the child's cheek with reverent gentleness. "She has the royal markings," the Empress observed, indicating the subtle patterns on Mira's violet skin. "She does," Lyra agreed. "She carries my heritage as she carries Olivia's." The Empress moved to the twin boys, studying their different features with scientific interest, then finally to little Stella, who immediately began to hum, her musical tones rising and falling in response to the Empress' presence. "A songchild," the Empress whispered, her voice filled with wonder. "There has not been a songchild born to the royal line in 10,000 years. Lyra and Olivia exchanged surprised glances. "What does that mean?" Olivia asked. The Empress turned to them in ancient times before we became so focused on controlled breeding. Song children were born rarely but considered sacred. They could communicate emotions directly through sound bridging barriers between minds. Stella continued humming her melody, shifting, becoming something that somehow conveyed curiosity and welcome, even to those who had never heard such sounds before. The Empress responded with her own hum, rusty and unpracticed but recognizable as a similar form of communication. A moment of connection across generations and species. I have come to apologize. The Empress finally said, straightening the council was wrong. I was wrong to dismiss you as flawed. To give you away as a diplomatic joke. Lyra felt Olivia's hand slip into hers, squeezing gently, giving her strength. I accept your apology, she said, but I cannot regret what happened. Had I remained on Zaxia valued and royal, I would never have found my true path, never have met Olivia, never have discovered the truth about my biology, never have become mother to these children. The Empress nodded, her eyes blinking in the Zaxian gesture of deep thought. Sometimes from our greatest mistakes come our greatest opportunities. I see that now. She turned to Olivia. You have cared for one of our royal daughters better than we ourselves did. You have given her what we could not, understanding, acceptance. Love. Olivia shook her head. I gave her nothing. She didn't deserve. I simply saw her as she truly is. The conversation continued, the Empress asking questions about the children's development, showing particular interest in Stella's sonic abilities. Eventually, the formal diplomatic meeting transformed into something more personal, the Empress sharing stories of Zaxius, ancient history tales not found in official records about the time before genetic control, when diversity had been celebrated. As the meeting concluded, the Empress made an unexpected offer. I would like to invite you all to visit Zaxia. Not as subjects, but as honored guests. There is much our world could learn from your family. Much our people should see. Lyra considered the proposal, thinking of the crystal spires of her birth world, the perpetual twilight, the 3 moons rising over purple vegetation. Once it had been a place of shame for her, but perhaps now it could be something different. We will consider it, she said, when the children are older, when they can understand the significance. The Empress nodded in agreement, then hesitated before adding, there are others like you on Zaxia, females declared infertile with our males. We have begun identifying them, offering them the knowledge you discovered, the choice to seek compatible partners among humans if they wish. Change comes slowly, Lyra observed, but it comes, the Empress agreed. The state visit made galactic headlines. Human Zaxian hybrid children meet Empress, the first official recognition of the new genetic pathway between species. Scientists across known space began studying the implications, researchers from a dozen worlds requesting permission to observe the children. Lyra and Olivia protected their family from becoming public spectacles, allowing limited scientific access, establishing firm boundaries. They wanted their children to have normal lives despite their extraordinary origins. As the children grew, their unique natures became more pronounced. Mira, showing aptitude for languages, mastering both human and Zaxian tongues by age 2. The twins developing complementary abilities. Terra with remarkable empathic sensitivity. Nova with analytical intelligence beyond his years. Little Stella expanding her sonic communication, creating complex melodies that could convey detailed concepts without words. They attended a specialized education center where children from various species learned together their differences, celebrated their unique perspectives, valued. Lyra often volunteered their sharing. Zaxian cultural traditions modified to embrace diversity rather than conformity. Olivia continued her research, publishing groundbreaking papers on interspecies genetics and development, her work earning recognition across the scientific community. She was offered prestigious positions at research institutions throughout Earth, but chose to remain at her local facility, prioritizing family over career advancement. 3 years after the births, Ambassador Kate arrived at their home with news that would once again change their lives. The Galactic Council is establishing a new diplomatic initiative, she announced, focused on interspecies cooperation and genetic diversity. They want you both to lead it. Lyra and Olivia exchanged glances, both thinking of their peaceful life, their garden, their home, The initiative would be based here on Earth. Kate continued, understanding their hesitation. You would work together, bringing your unique perspectives to help shape policy for emerging hybrid communities across known space. What about our children? Olivia asked. They would be part of it. Kate said, not as subjects but as examples of possibility. The first, but no longer the only, human Zaxian hybrids are being born across Earth and Zaxia now, each family facing challenges you were the first to navigate. Lyra thought of those other families, other children like hers pioneering a new existence between worlds. She thought of her own journey from discarded princess to respected leader.